people who don't know, you are a bit of a Gold Coast legend. 65 games in NRL for Titans, had to retire early.
Matt Srama
Former Gold Coast Titans hooker Matt Srama has announced his retirement from rugby league just a day after his...
Due to injuries, and now you're leading the Srama Group.
The biggest thing I took away from professional sport into business would probably be the importance of, I wanted to become a professional athlete my whole life. I dedicated myself to the sport, and then when it's all gone, it's either you finally have that valve release of like, thankfully I can now do whatever I want when I want. That's a dangerous trap as well. The other side of this spectrum is that you do have that freedom to do whatever you want, but I found the ability to create structure will give you more freedom. You're a high performer to play professional sport, but you've got a team around you who keep you accountable. When you step into the world of business, you don't have that. Two of the best hires I made in business to form part of my team was an executive assistant and a house manager.
What does the house manager do?
Yeah, house manager. So
what do you think the everyday person, in quotation marks, can do or implement in their lives to build resilience?
Welcome back to another episode of Two Blokes One Business, and there's three of us on the sofa today.
Yeah, we're joined by Matt Srama. We actually had a really good intro where we were going to say there was 3 Heineken Zeros on the table and the third one was for Matt, but he's gone with the water. I mean, that probably explains why he's in such good nick and we're not. Welcome, mate. Thanks for coming on today.
Thanks for coming on, fellas. If it was Saturday, I would. I'd just I got a big one tomorrow, so and it's Friday Arvo. Could get dangerous.
Yeah, very smart. So Matt, for people who don't know, you are a bit of a Gold Coast legend. 65 games in NRL for Titans. Had to retire early due to injuries, and now you're leading the Srama Group. Mates, from your NRL days, what was that one moment in your career that really shaped you and probably impacts now how you still operate today?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing I took away from professional sport into business at a really high level would probably be the importance of managing your energy.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, so what I noticed when I came into the world of business was that a lot of people would work hard, which is what you need to work hard, but some would work beyond hard and just never rest. And I found that interesting because when we were playing professional sport, you work hard, you train very hard, but we also prioritize recovery and rest. And I found it interesting when I jumped into business that a lot of it was nearly like a badge of honor if you just kept working hard. I'm all for working hard, but I schedule in rest, recovery, look after my nutrition and food. So to be honest, that's been the biggest thing that has helped me in business, I think, is just understanding the importance of you train hard 100%, but you also got to make time to rest and recover.
How do you differentiate? Because I love that. And like we try and work hard as much as possible. But I think sometimes people think working hard and then intensity is a different thing. Like I think working hard for 12, 13 hours a day isn't sustainable. What we try and do, we maybe do a 10-hour day, but what the 10 hours that we do work are like fucking solid, intense. Yeah. Like we don't stop. And that's where we probably get maybe 60, 70 hours of output within a 50-hour week. I think sometimes when we've spoken to people about balance, or some people we speak to when we're recruiting and they talk about balance, they just want this cruisy life, right? Yes. 8 hours a day and they cruise through the office. Do you see a lot of people make that mistake?
100%. I really adopt the thought pattern of work-life integration.
Okay.
Nearly. So instead of more so balancing, just work-life integration. I mean, at the end of the day, if you're running a business, there will be times where you're in switch off mode, but you kind of got to switch back on for something. There's always fires. Every entrepreneurial business owner would relate to that. Like fires come up sometimes at a time that is inconvenient, and your team of employees who's a part of your business, they don't have to deal with that at that time. They can switch off, but that is a prerequisite and requirement for you as a founder to understand that that's part of your role. That's the sacrifice sometimes you have to make. So I love the term you said there around intensity. I think that's a really good one. Same thing, like I remember when we were playing sport, we'd have to wear like GPS trackers and things like that. And they'd pull you up if you've gone beyond a certain threshold, and that's it. Go in the ice bath, you're at capacity.
Ads would never hit that stage. Mate.
Yeah.
he never used to run.
My favourite saying, you're like, someone's let the runners run and the ballers ball.
I love it. Train smart. Train smart.
Yeah.
I love it.
So what does a week look like then, Matt? Are you pretty regimented? As a full-time sportsman, right, we used to go Monday, Tuesday, Monday morning session, Tuesday morning, afternoon, Wednesday off, Thursday double session, Friday morning, Saturday game. Was it the same for you in sport? And then in business, have you still got that, Wednesday off kind of scheduled in?
It's so funny. Firstly, anyone who knows me knows how regimented I am. And again, I think a lot of that is just the way I'm wired as an athlete. Like I was essentially an athlete since I was like 7. Like I wanted to become a professional athlete my whole life. I dedicated myself to the sport. Everything was around my training, and fitting those things in and recovery. And then when it's all gone, you either go two ways. It's either you finally have that valve release of like, thankfully I can now do whatever I want when I want. That's a dangerous trap as well. So the other side of this spectrum I've found is that you do have that freedom to do whatever you want, but I found the ability to create structure will give you more freedom. So what I tend to do now is, very similar to my footballing days. Like I have set blocks, and I'm a big fan of time blocking, and I've set intentions for sections of the week. Do I hit it 100%? No way. That's impossible. But I do have an intentional ideal week that I create and I curate every single quarter that I try to stick to. And yes, there is parts where there's a midweek rest period and kind of doing things outside the office that recharge me and, different things like that. So always playing around with where my time's going, very similar to creating the ideal week leading into a footy game.
To go even a step further on that, obviously, when you're in pro sport, pro football, whatever it might be, your Monday to Friday is your training session, right? For the big show, the big finale on a weekend. Do you still try and differentiate between the work you do in the business world of like, this is my training, this is kind of my bread and butter, but then this is when I'm on, like this is performance time? Yeah,
it's a good question. I was actually chatting to someone at a founder's lunch I was just at, and we were talking around business is like the infinite game. It's like, it's competitive. It's, it's pretty relentless. You got to problem solve. You got to be ready if you got to step up in the moment, you got to be ready. But there's no real scoreboard. The scoreboard's against yourself really at the end of the day, because there's no like time when you're like, I won or I really lost, or you know what I mean? Like when is that in business? It's like the infinite game. So to answer your question, I think it comes down to being in the best state that I can. So I manage a lot of my time regarding on what energy and state I'll be. So things that require high consciousness of state of mind. So things like sales calls or key meetings, try to plug them in the mornings because I know the energy's high and I have to be on, to answer your question. And then a lot more networking, relaxed things I try to put in the afternoon because, I don't have to be as on, I guess. So yeah, in regards to where that is in the week or what a moment is, there's so many different things. I think in business, you just have to kind of always be ready and sort of on, I guess. And that's why, again, I put like health and wellness kind of up there, because if I'm well, mentally, physically, emotionally, I can handle whatever is kind of thrown at me.
And it's a really timely thing to talk about because me and Harves, we look after ourselves outside of work. But as you said there, it's a 10-hour sprint, 5 days a week. And the energy is definitely not always optimal, right? And there's probably things we do at a less optimal state, which then probably have a bigger impact rather than just taking an hour out of the day and then maximizing the activity there when it's done. So mate, we need to fucking sort ourselves out.
And there's no perfection either, right? Like we all struggle with, as entrepreneurs, if you've started a business, you're just wired differently at the end of the day. Like you are wired to go beyond. It's hard to sit still, so.
Yeah, it's a different game. Like, I love the analogy you gave about business being the infinite game, because I never really thought of it that way, but you see people burn them, like you see entrepreneurs burn themselves out all the time, right? Yeah. And end up in a really bad situation at times. You never really see that with professional sports people, do you? Not at the top level, because even though the pressure's super high, it's a demanding physical life, they're forced to rest and they're forced to do the recovery.
Yeah.
but there's no one knocking on your door in the business world saying, stop making sales call, mate, and come and have a nice massage.
Exactly. And that's the, I guess, where it lies, right? You're a high performer to play professional sport, but you've got a team around you who keep you accountable for things like recovery and rest. When you step into the world of business, you don't have that. You effectively have 100% ownership of where you are in that given time or moment. So you have to create, I guess, disciplines as a person to either work harder or work, in some cases, work less, like give yourself the rest you need to be able to push even harder. So yeah, it's the fun thing around business is wherever you are in business, it's ultimately an accumulation of kind of the decisions you've made. Like you've got to have full accountability of that.
I love that. The team thing you mentioned there is really important. It got me thinking, why don't you build a team around you? As you had a masseuse, a coach, an analyst, a dietitian, the whole lot, you probably need to build that circle around you, whether it's exactly those roles, but maybe it's someone who's more financial savvy than you are. Maybe it's someone who is big on the health and wellness and nutrition side of life, and essentially use them as your coaching team. I think everyone talks about mentors, which is absolutely vital, and we've got a couple ourselves, but they're normally people who have walked your path 5, 10, 15 years before, really, rather than actually being in the moment at the present and looking at the current state. It's more future state with that stuff. So maybe that's something to figure out, mate. So if anyone's listening, they're a dietitian, they're a masseuse.
Fuck, I think you just tried to make yourself Cristiano Ronaldo.
Of business. Bit of work to do on the rig first.
Mate, it's funny actually. As you were saying that, I tell you one of the two best hires, and you guys relate to this because in the recruitment world, the two best hires I ever made in terms of, if we're translating sport to business now, two of the best hires I made in business to form part of my team was an executive assistant and a house manager. And
what does the house manager do?
Yeah, house manager. So why I say these two are probably the lowest hanging fruit people should have on their team straight away as entrepreneurs is they need to cut off the low dollar productive tasks early, because they're generally the tasks that weigh entrepreneurs down, keep the energy levels low to that are stopping them getting to the high energy, high dollar value tasks. So I learned early on that I hated emails. Hated them with a passion. My inbox would just get bigger and bigger as we scaled, and the more success we had, I spent most of my time in my inbox, and I realized, man, that I hate it. First of all, it's red light energy. It drains me, and I just don't like it, and it's not time effective. So I started research, and then I offloaded all of my admin now. I'm never in my inbox anymore. So my assistant takes care of all of that, books things for me, schedules things for me, manages the calendar. All the stuff that is low dollar productive in my eyes that I didn't enjoy. And then what I realized, I started learning the concept of what a house manager was. And I was like, this is an absolute no-brainer. So that's in business. But then when I go home, there's tasks to do. There's meals to cook. There's clothes to wash, and there's things to iron. I hate all of those things. But you have to do them. They're important. Don't get me wrong. So we spend so much money trying to find maybe the next employee for this section rather than having a look, where's my energy getting sapped right now? So the house manager we've got looks after, cooking, cleaning, ironing, washes the car, just anything that is going to take me away from keeping my energy level high and something I enjoy. And it's been one of the best investments I've made. And the investment is really winning back my time and my energy more than anything.
Have you seen a direct impact on, yes, your energy and your time, but are you then seeing the financial rewards that are coming through the door to, I guess, warrant that investment?
Yeah, exactly right. And that's the hardest thing, is that until you do it, you won't be able to see, right? To answer your question, 100% for sure. But is it risky? Is it like scary investing money into that? Oh, of course, 100%. And the only reason I did was like all of the top entrepreneurs I was looking up to all had people like that in their corner. So I found that really interesting. And a book that I love and highly recommends called Buy Back Your Time from Dan Martell.
Riley's been like on my case for 5 weeks now to read this book. He's like, mate, you've got to read it.
You've got to read it. Yeah. Phenomenal. So just again, he has something you guys would love, the recruitment ladder and like which roles to kind of offload first. And he always talks, don't hire to build capacity, hire to buy back your time. So buy back your time first, then let's go hard. But it's an amazing book. And that's the big concept I took away from a lot of things, was that there's people out there who have got people in their corner, in their team, behind the scenes, doing all of these things that I had no idea you could even outsource.
I've just had like a massive internal fight in myself as you were talking then.
You're right.
Yeah, stay with me for this. Right. So we're not from a working class background, right?
Yeah.
So we've got a cleaner at the moment, which even getting a cleaner, I could kind of feel the old me going, who the fuck do you think you are?
Yeah.
Like, clean your own fucking house, you fucking scumbag. Right? But then I'm going, okay, well, that person's not running this business now, you know what I mean? And there are so much stuff that you both hate doing and just take energy from you. So the cleaner's kind of an easy one. Now I'm thinking food. And to be fair, we get Samurai Sam, I think his name is.
Samurai muscle meals. Samurai Sam.
I do this every episode. So he does our lunches for the week. So that's great. So I think I'm doing it slow and steady to try and not piss off the old working class Adam who thinks he's probably got too big for his boots.
Yeah.
But I think the end goal is, you're exactly right, mate. If there's no point spending more time and more hours at work doing things that are high value, and then on the weekend doing 10 low value hours, right? Where's the correlation there? Did you go for that yourself?
Mate, I absolutely love how you said the internal messaging around nearly like the pride thing. I was why would I pay someone to do that when I can do it myself? Or why am I so special that I got someone doing that? You got to remember, there's people out there in the universe right now who enjoy doing those things. And it's a privilege for them to do more of those things. Just like I enjoy, chatting on a podcast or looking at property, there's people out there who actually are. My house manager, she loves to clean. She's so clean, and she gets a bump out of it. She brings her daughter along. Sometimes they spend time there going to markets together. She's so grateful that she's had the opportunity to impact my life, and I pay her for going to the markets. So in her eyes, she's like, how lucky am I? Do you know what I mean? So again, I was with you though. Yeah. So I had to retrain my brain to realize, well, life is short. If that's something I do not enjoy doing, if you enjoy doing it, 100% do it. But I didn't enjoy going to the shopping centers and getting my groceries and doing cooking and things like that. I just didn't enjoy it. So why would I live life doing things I didn't enjoy?
If you've got the resources not
if you got
to,
the
right?
resources,
which is why you do the 50, 60, 70-hour weeks.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly right. And again, then the next battle is you feel bad nearly, but then again, it retrains my brain. Again, we use people offshore. I'm from the Philippines, and for them, talking to my cousins and everything over there, they're very highly regarded if they're working for onshore, Australian companies. They're seen at the top of the food chain. So again, it's you got to change your perspective of some of the people you're outsourcing tasks to. It's also got as much gratitude back to you too.
It's that mindset shift. I remember when we did go down the avenue of looking at hiring an EA, we actually decided in the end, when we started doing the tasks, it was more a full-time marketing person we needed, which we told you about off air. But when I was writing the EA task list with ads, I was going, oh, fuck, that's a horrible job. That's a horrible job. And I just had to change my mindset of, you're right. There are people out there that organization task that I hate and cannot be asked to do, they love it. Yeah. And they just love, okay, I'll organize your life, make you very calm, you go and do what you do. And it's just remembering that there's a job out there for everyone.
There is. And just on that, if I could give an exercise, an actionable tip that I did was I peeled back, I wrote down every 15 to 30 minutes in your ideal week. Just think of a week right now. Every 15 to 30 minutes, write down kind of what you did. If it was podcast, and what category that's marketing, checked emails, sales call, and then personal life too, took the bins out, or you could do it for 3 days, but look, if you want to go extreme, do it for a week. And at the end of the week, have a look at that each half-hour block and grab a green highlighter and a red highlighter. And green highlighters are things that gave you energy. the red highlighter is the stuff that just sapped you dry. Have a look. What you'll find is all the red highlighter things, you'll start to see commonalities. For mine, it was a lot of admin and things like chores and emails. And then you package that all in and you're like, that's a role right there. Like, I just have to create systems and processes around all of those tasks. And there is someone who actually that's their green light energy.
Yeah.
So that's a simple way I found of just getting on paper so you can kind of see from a helicopter view of like, I'm doing a lot of red light tasks in my week. Like, no wonder why I'm burnt out.
Yeah, we need to do that, don't we?
And yeah, you're so right. 'Cause sometimes you're just a busy idiot. Right?
You're just busy. Yeah. You're just busy. And you get to the end of the week, you're like, man, I'm burnt out. But like, that's the entrepreneur spirit. Like, let's go.
Right? Yeah.
But imagine if you translated that, 60-hour week into 90% green tasks. You're always energized. You're feeling inspired. Whenever I feel I am kind of tired or not as inspired, and we all go through it. There's times where it's like, what am I doing in business? This is I'd love to get paid and just go home, to be honest. But then for me, that's an internal message to say, hey, check your time and energy. What are you doing right now that's sapping you?
Yeah. What about the tasks that you probably should do, but you don't like doing them? And one thing that springs to mind is, for me, reference checks. So when we place someone, obviously we call old bosses, old managers, obviously professional checks. That's part of our duty to our paying clients, and we do them. And the reason I say I should do them is because the person on the other end of that phone, a reference check, is a potential client. So that's why I should do them.
True.
But fuck me, they're the most boring. I hate the stereotypical pre-scripted conversations, and they just drain me. And I just can't wait to get to the end of it and go, so what do you do for recruitment?
Yeah.
So they're the ones I'm battling with. Do you get rid of them, or do you just have to suck it up?
Well, the next phase on the green light and red light is you put a dollar sign next to it. $1 sign is that dollar per hour value. $2 signs, $3 signs, $4 signs. So for example, in my world, having a sales call with someone to pitch potential service on what we can value can add, that's quite high. It's a high ticket offer. It's quite high value. Do you enjoy it? Do you not? I always say that's the green light, red light. So for that, it nearly sounds like it's red, but it's high. It's probably got $3 to $4 signs next to it. So for the low energy, high dollar value, it's nearly, I think, I need to find someone at a high skill set that I could train to maybe do this field. It's potentially that, or again, always just
80-20 rule almost as well, right?
Yeah.
20% of your week's going to be.
Yeah. Or is there a way you could break down that process where you're just doing the last check of it or something? I don't know. Without the small talk, not sure.
You've just solved it, mate. We've got Katie out there. She's just started with our business. She's she's been a recruitment consultant in London. She's going to come in as a talent manager, learn our way, and then she's going to go through to a consultant. So she's just bought herself a few extra reference checks thanks to Matt Srama.
and then you just do the final. I call it, I've got a mentality around those tasks because in my world, that's kind of the negotiation. I love it, but there's no way I can handle the amount of people we work or the negotiate. There's no way. So I've got a mentality that I got from sport is they're called red zone chats or red zone plays.
Okay.
So if the team can get you upfield just before the try line and I come in for the red zone to convert it, if your team could get you to the reference check where you've trained them to a point of get us upfield, you're just putting that nice right foot in the top right corner, bang, and then but the team's got you up there. So you're all of a sudden become more valuable because all you need to do is kick the ball now. Rather, it sounds like you're literally getting it from the goalkeeper, making upfield, you're going down the wing, kicking it back to yourself rather than just stay in the striker zone, let the team get you up there, and now you can keep kicking and you could probably fit 10 or 20 of them in a day.
Yeah,
that's to change my life there, mate.
That's gold, mate. That's gold. I'm glad you went there with the analogy because I really want to dig into the professional sport background. I know we've kind of touched on it already, and we spoke about perhaps the dangers of making sure you do look after yourself because in business, there's no one to look at that. But what do you feel it's benefited for you coming from that sort of background? Because I know me and Ads, we feel like it's what it gives us our edge. Like we beat so many of our competitors just because of that background that we've come from for millions of different reasons. It's
honestly the unfair advantage I always say that I've got against some competitors in business is that I have come from a professional sport background. I definitely use it to my advantage for sure. And if I was to unpack what those things were, I'd say definitely the discipline and consistency side of it, because it is very hard to play professional sport. Like you have to kind of get yourself up to train, not for a day, not for a week. It's like years. Like I started at 6 and I debuted at 20.
Wow.
So it was 14 years of just 3 to 4 times a week, the carnivals, the footy games, and do the same thing. For like, practice my passing and just like, do you know what I mean? So it's like an accumulation of just doing the reps. And then the consistency side, again, is the same thing. If there's a skill set that might be lacked, like I really struggled passing left to right my whole juniors. And it took me probably 4 years of just repping it out, just staying consistent with that. Very boring sort of stuff. And to be honest, that's what I reckon a lot of success in business has been. It's like I had no degrees coming out of school. I just passed school. Sport was everything. I finished sport, had no job experience, like zero resume. How can I scale a business that quick? I honestly think it's just like I've just had a crack and just stayed with it. And I think when the tough times come to the average person who hasn't been in a sport background, exposed to really hard things, the ability to just kind of get up and I'll figure it out and keep going. I've realized that's actually a superpower, because when I was playing sport, you get injured, you're out for 3 weeks, someone takes your spot, you got contract chats, you're about to get cut. You won this week, you're a hero, but the next week, everyone hates you. So and at a young age, that's a lot to kind of put on your shoulders. So when you kind of leave sport and you get in business, it's like I had someone tell me they don't want my service. No, you're too expensive. Hey, you suck. It's just like, it just falls off the shelf, because it's just like, just keep going. Like, it's fine. It's all good. I think, you know what I mean? For someone who hasn't been exposed to like hard things, I can see how business would be very, very tough. And it's tough as well for me. It's just that resilience kind of, you push through kind of thing.
I think pressure as well.
Pressure,
like the pressure of, there's 2 types of pressure as well I felt coming through in the age group, naturally being one of the better players. That's what we kind of went through. So there's the pressure to be the best, right? Your own internal pressure. And then you make that leap from youth team to the pros. There's a different type of pressure. Now it's don't be the shittest. You're walking out there with lads who have played 15 years in their career and know the tricks of the trade. And if I'm on their team and I give a pass away, they will rip me to fucking shreds, right? So there's different types of pressure to deal with. I think the pressure in business, maybe it was a cop-out for when I was young, but it feels like it's a lot more controllable. Like I'm in control of the wins and the losses, whereas in a team sport, in football, there's so many different opinions around you that have so much weight. Definitely. You could have the best game of your life, but the gaffer doesn't want a left-footed midfielder, he wants a right-footer. Fuck, well, I can't change my fucking feet overnight.
That's so true.
So I feel like in business, and that sport gives that accountability. Whatever happens in Harwell, we go, okay, what do we do? This is every single micro step. Okay, step 4, probably could have done a bit better. Now we know next time. And we're pretty good at just dropping it. It doesn't linger. It doesn't suck.
Yeah, just drop it.
Go, we look at each other and go, fuck, it's a lot of money, but what's the answer now? You can suck and lose the next one, and then that's double the amount of money. Or we can go and make sure that comes in, that pays it back, and on we go.
And a big one too is the forever mindset of like learning. Because in sport, like you could be the top of your game. I remember we had lots of superstars played Origin and that, but they were still getting critiqued and working on their craft always. So it's nearly like that, never being complacent either. Like one thing I learned when I was playing sport is, you're exactly right. I was the young, hungry kid coming through the ranks, and I was chasing everyone down. And then you become the starting hooker in the team, and everyone's chasing you now. So it's you've always got someone behind you, kind of keeping you on your toes kind of thing. So I see that a lot with business is, just that constant ability to refine. Something goes bad, don't see it as a loss, see it as a learning. And I always believe the mentality of you either win or you learn in business.
I've got that tattooed on me somewhere. I love that one.
I love it. I think one cheat code for me is the ability to deal with shit feedback. When you're coming through as a young lad, like even 16-year-old, I remember goalkeeping coach used to have Bookie. Like he used to absolutely batter me. Like there were days where I was just being slow, and like in England, I'm a goalkeeper, so I'm diving around on the floor and like the pitches are proper muddy and wet. Yeah. And there were days where he would literally be shouting, "Come on, little piggy." Like quite literally. Like he's like, "You're like a little pig rolling around in the mud today." And we laugh at it now, but at the time, when you hear that and you get hit with that, your ability to just deal with shit feedback and just take it on. And when you look really deep into it, it's because he wants me to be better. It's because he's trying to motivate you to be better. And I know coming into the professional world of recruitment at a global agency, I was lucky that Ads had been there and done it before. So he was a few years ahead. And I said to him and my line manager, I was like, just tell me what I've got to do to get really good at this really quickly. Don't butter it up. Just tell me straight, even if you think it's going to offend me. Because the quicker I can just make all those shit mistakes, learn from it and crack on, the quicker I'm happier. And I just think that was some of the most powerful lessons I learned, because we've seen people come into this business at times and we're like, oh, can we deliver that harsh feedback? And we probably didn't do it enough early on because we felt like it was upsetting people until we said, we've got to be kind, not nice.
Yeah.
And the idea of that is doing the nice thing would just be letting those little things slide.
Yes.
But to be kind where they want to be successful, they want to earn big commissions, big money. And for us being kind to them to get them there, you've got to have those difficult situations. But I think early on, if we didn't seek that out from the background we'd had in pro football and the ability to deal with that, I don't know if we'd have got it as much as what we did.
It's so true. I mean, you think of anyone who comes from a sport environment, right? If you spoke the way some coaches would have spoke to you, to your team, you know, you're on work safety, you know, you've got some lawsuits against you. Right?
So, HR knocking on the door.
Yeah, HR is knocking hard. So you're exactly right. It's just kind of, you just get sort of used to it. In saying that, it's interesting on the topic of like leadership, when you are building a team, you also, one of my biggest learnings in the world of business coming from professional sport was that when I was in professional sport, everyone was wired that way. Everyone was wired in a way where they could take feedback easily. They could build resilience and get on with the job. When you come into the world of business and you start employing great talent into your organization, you have to remember they're not athletes. They didn't grow up being athletes. So you have to be mindful in the way you communicate to other people, because what made me get from A to B really quickly was like, just hit me straight, hit me, don't fluff, just give it to me. But some people can't respond that will put people down. That could really diminish someone's confidence. So it's been a learning act on understanding the different personality types outside of the world of sport.
Yeah. If you're someone that hasn't been blessed with that professional sport background and you are listening to this right now, what do you think the everyday person, in quotation marks, can do or implement in their lives to build that resilience?
Yeah, it's one of those things. It's nearly like a muscle, I always say, with like resilience and discipline. It's like you have to flex it. That's what I always got taught. And I tell myself still to this day that discipline sets you free at the end of the day. And how discipline doesn't just like come into your life all of a sudden, or you drink something and become really disciplined. I think it's a case of exposure theory and just flexing it subtly every single day. So even little things, like I've always had a cold shower in the morning. Do I enjoy it? No, but it makes me feel amazing. And it's that little self-win with myself, even in winter. I've done it for like 6 years straight, where it's like, yeah, let's go. And then a little discipline, bang, it gets easier over the years. Just little things like that. Maybe it's staying disciplined around your food choices from Monday to Friday or whatever it is. I just think there has to be ways you can flex it somehow. And I think that's why I'm big on like health and fitness, because just having some sort of training regime is an easy win for anyone who just wants to start flexing their discipline muscle. If you got a training pro where you have to get up for the next 12 weeks, just train for the 40 minutes. If you can do that every day, you've flexed it so hard. So it's just finding those little minuscule things each day to flex it.
The muscle is a great analogy, because what I'm thinking there is guilt, right? When you let yourself down, you don't have that cold shower, the fucking guilt,
guilt.
that gets you, and you go, you are a loser.
Yeah.
And that feeling gets bigger the better you've been. So what I mean by that is the second day you don't take a cold shower, you don't feel as much as a loser. And the third day, the fourth day. But when you've done it for 6 years, you almost then are more scared of feeling like you've let yourself down. So you just go, fuck, I'll just take the shower. And I know we had a bit of a spell where we kind of partied a fair bit, and you go, nah, I'm not drinking this weekend. Yeah. And then, would you believe it, Saturday rolls around, you play the game, you run 3-0, you have a couple of beers. But because you do it every week, you kind of don't really expect to keep the promise to yourself anyway. So you don't really feel that bad. And then, to be fair to Harves, he was kind of the first one out of our little crew of mates to go, you know what, like, I've got a baby on the way, I'm done. Like, I'm doing 6 months sober, I'm going to support my partner. Incredible. And then I know for him firsthand, it was, okay, I built up trust credits with myself again. I do what I say I'm going to do. Whether that's drinking, whether that's the gym, you know, and would you believe it, as he didn't drink for those 6 months, his fitness got better because he was going to the gym on Sundays rather than being in bed with a KFC. And then he was keeping his promise there. So his food was better. He was a better partner. So it's all just those little micro decisions. You don't even realize the impact they're going to have at the back end. And whether that's sport, whether that's just what's in people to make the hard decisions for consistently, there's some magic in that for sure.
Massive. Yeah. I mean, it's the one person you don't want to break a promise to is yourself at the end of the day. So you're exactly right. The more promises you keep to yourself and execute on those, I think that just internally breeds more confidence. And the more confidence you have as a human, the more you're going to project that out in the business world or professional world or personal world, I think too. So that's why I'm so big on, no one's going to see you if you didn't go to the gym. No one's going to see you if you didn't not drink that alcohol versus it's just, everyone can do what they want. But if you told yourself that, hey, I really want to not do that thing, and you keep doing it, the only person you're letting down is yourself, really.
Oh, I got myself into such a bad place with mental health because all I was doing was just making promises to myself and breaking them. And the relationship I had with myself was terrible. Yeah. And like I had a realization, I'm like, I'm more likely to keep a promise to ads or you who I've only met today than I would to myself. And I'm the one that's got to live in my mind all week. And I'm just like, what are you doing? Like, you're about to become a dad. Yeah. And for me, that promise was doing stupid things on a weekend after I've had 3 or 4 beers and your judgment goes out the window. So that's how I made my change, and it really transformed my life.
Yeah, that's unreal. Yeah, it's so true. It's a good inspiration for anyone hearing different stories like that too. Like it can change quite quickly too. It just takes that little bit of rejigging things and acceptance.
This wasn't on my structure, my notes. I'm not sure how it's going to come. But what about identity then? Because I think what we're talking about is really change your identity. You were Harvey. If I knew I was having a few beers, I'd be like, well, Harvey will have a few beers with me. Of course he will with Harv, right? That's what we do. And then Harv does his 6 months, right? And then he's not Harv the party guy anymore. He's Harv the guy who goes to the gym, Harv the guy who's a dad. I think that identity shift that you have along that way, that's what you need to prove to yourself and get people to know you as well. Like I've done a similar journey to Harv's where it used to be, if Powley's out, we'll have a good time for sure. And now it's not that anymore. I've kind of dropped that tag. But rather than just on the kind of the negative side, what about the positive shift into business? So now you're not necessarily Matt Srama, the NRL player. You're Matt Srama, the Gold Coast Best Buyers agent, leader of the Srama Group. Is that your new identity, or have you got room for both, do you feel?
Yeah, it's a great question. One thing I learned, again, from sport into business is to detach Matt Srama, the person, from the job and the status. So when I was an athlete, I definitely identified myself as I'm an NRL athlete. I got significance when people, would come up for a photo and say you had an amazing game. But if I didn't have a good game, I wouldn't feel as good. I'd be moping around for the week that was. And when I retired, imagine how that felt. It's like, man, your whole significance and your whole identity is kind of gone now. And I see a lot of athletes struggle with this. So what I identified was I had to rewire my blueprint of life and understand that Matt Srama is me as an authentic person, not my status or what I do. It's who I am. And as I've had more success in business, there's more people wanting to be a part of my life. There's more things coming my way. There's more status. I'm going out in the streets and people are recognizing me for, what I'm doing in the business world now. But what I've realized is I don't attach myself to it anymore. I don't get satisfaction, or my whole week isn't dependent on how much revenue I made or net profit. You know, I obviously want to have a good crack, but well, who am I behind the scenes, just as my authentic self? How is my values aligned with my family? Am I doing the things that I enjoy in my health? Am I playing golf and doing some hobbies that I enjoy? So that's what I realized. If all of that's going good, the byproduct will be that I'm better in business, versus I think some people try to focus on being better in business so they feel better about themselves. And I think that's a dangerous place. And I'm always mindful when, you know, people say, oh, a business is my baby, you know, and like they ride the wave so hard. And I sort of stop and I say, your baby's your family at home. Like they're important. Just what, like, it's all good. Like business is a vehicle and an asset you've built to build some wealth, I'm sure, some freedom and time. Like it's all good. Like it's all good.
Yeah.
It's just business. So don't attack. That's what I've learned. My identity is not business now. My identity is me as a person. I just happen to be doing this cool thing of business on the side.
Were there any really difficult moments for you during that switch? Because it sounds easy, right? Just change your identity, detach. But we both know we've made that transition out of the football game. And as you mentioned earlier, from the age of 6, your whole life up until you made your debut at 20, that's 14 years of obsessing over one thing. And then one day, bang, it's over.
Yeah.
How do you do that?
Hey guys, hope you're enjoying the show. Now, while I've got your attention, apart from being professional podcasters, we also run a recruitment agency called Parallel Consulting.
Yeah, we're super lucky that we get to partner with some of Australia's most well-known brands and biggest organisations. So if you're keen to hear a little bit more about how we add value to their teams and businesses with the right people, we'll put the links in the show notes, or you can check us out at www.parallelconsulting.com.au. Now enjoy the rest of the show.
Yeah, it's tough. Don't get me wrong. I think the average is like it takes a 2-year window to kind of just even find your feet after pro sport. And I mean, you see it all the time. Like people who haven't been a part of sport would look at some of these people like, how are they depressed? Like, you know, there was Greg Inglis, there was a few Olympic swimmers. And it's just like, everyone loves it. Like they've got everything. I'm sure they've got a lot of money too. How are they depressed? Makes no sense. And what I've realized, it's that significance. It's like your identity is the athlete, not the person. So for me, it was a tough struggle of probably, 2 years of just kind of finding my feet. And I stumbled across like a Tony Robbins YouTube, the old big dog Tony Robbins. Yeah. And it was around changing your blueprint in life. And this is where I got down the rabbit hole of understanding all this. It was talking that we all have a blueprint in life. And in our mind, for example, like mine would have been playing footy till I was 35, playing Origin, all those sorts of things. Unfortunately, the blueprint got cut half. Like it was going that way and then it didn't. It just changed. And you can either accept or you can blame. And a lot of people blame like, oh man, why me with the injuries? Like why me? And they live the rest of their life with this victim mentality on why, rather than acceptance that the blueprint has changed. And the cool thing is you can pick up a pen and create a whole new blueprint. The blueprint isn't set and forget. So I think as athletes, we set it in place for like, my career is going to be 10 years, set this way. I'd love to play for this club for the rest of my life and all of that. It's probably not likely going to happen, right? So you have to just accept if it does change, that's life.
What blueprint?
Don't blame.
Knowing what you know now, what blueprint do you think you would have preferred? Do you think you would have preferred Matt Srama, the Origin player, or the one you've got in the life you've got now?
Do you know what? This is one of the coolest things with life. You can only connect the dots backwards. And there's no way I would have ever envisioned me sitting here right now with what I'm doing and what I've done. And like, no chance. That wasn't even in the blueprint. Do I love what? I'm so grateful. So would I have chosen this part? Potentially. Like, that's what I mean. It's just like, it's just madness to even think like there were some really tough moments in personal life, professionally, obviously my career getting cut short. But if it wasn't for those, I didn't end up taking some certain steps. So I really believe in the quote, and I've heard it before. It's like life will always open up doors. It's our job to walk through them, and then life will close the ones we're not meant to continue to walk through. So in life, there will be opportunities, there will be things. Just have a crack. Don't get too fixated on the blueprint you've set yourself. If it feels right, walk into it. If it's not meant to be, life will just close it, and there might be a new door that comes out the back of that. So I think too many people get fixated on doing nothing and not going through all the doors in front of them because they're so focused on trying to get through that one door. So that's what I've kind of adopted in my life now is like, hey, could I don't know where I'll be in 5 years. Who knows? I could be in a completely different space, but all I know is the journey's going to reveal some more of these doors. And if it feels right and aligns with my values, I'm going to explore it.
There's a quote that I've been told by a good friend, Michael Gelatley. It's called amor fati, which is life happens for you, not to you.
Yeah, I love
which
that.
I think really ties into that. And we're the same.
so
We haven't
true.
got a 5-year, 10-year plan. We've probably got a 2-year, which then gets done in a year probably because of what we're like as people. But I'm so comfortable with that. And I think having a 10-year plan, I think you can miss opportunities along the way because it doesn't align. Oh no, sorry, I've got to get to this goal in 10 years. All this other stuff is noise. But in actual fact, it's probably a better way to get to where you want to go. And I think as long as you know your values, as long as you know your principles, what gives you energy, which is an awesome exercise. I'm definitely doing that you mentioned earlier. You just make decisions on that. Great. Does that tick these boxes? Yes, it does. Well, let's give it a crack. You know?
Yeah. I heard one. And it sounds like as well, like I'm all for kind of setting goals and intentions. And it's nearly like putting that, the analogy I use is like, if you put on a destination in Google Maps, right? Like you get there. Sometimes the road's blocked and it takes you a detour this way and then that way. At the end of the day, the destination's there, but don't get too fixated on trying to get there in one straight motion because 99.9% of the time there will be a roadblock come and you'll have to detour left versus right. So I now aim for progress over perfection, and goals give me the guiding light and the GPS, but I've come to understand and be okay with that, hey, we might have to go a detour for whatever reason that I can't control, and that's okay. As long as I'm growing as a person on the way there, that's what matters, I've realized, because you hit the destination for most goals and it's like, cool, what's next? Let's go.
Never enough.
Yeah. So I realized it's the progress, not the perfection.
Yeah. Let's talk about the evolvement of the business, because you sound very wise, like you're very knowledgeable, and in the property space on the Gold Coast now, you're one of the first names people think of. You run a great podcast as well. What's the biggest change you've had to make as a person in that journey?
Yeah, and I think that's the constant evolution of like, who do you need to become? Like you might have heard the term like be, do, have.
Yes.
Like, yeah, who do you need? That people got it the other way wrong. It's what do I need to do? So then that will bring me what I have, and then I will become who I want to be. Versus be, do, have is who do I need to become? Then that will lead to the actions I need to do, and then by a product I'll have. So I'm always thinking now, like, what do I want out of the what do I want out of the business, and then strive. What would that person look like who had those things? And that's kind of my intention or goal, if you so to speak. So when you're asking like, what did it have to change? It's you change a lot. You change a lot between the ears, I think is the most. Like I'm still doing my thing, like health, wellness. I'm still the same person. It's just between the ears is changing. Like I'm kind of thinking differently and bigger and different things like that. So I think to get to any sort of level, you always just got to be checking in like, who do you need to become? Like what sort of character you want to, I know you guys listen to Hormozy, he always talks on like the character traits. Like who do you need to become? What sort of character traits does that person have? And am I embodying that, every single day?
Yeah. Do you have kids?
I don't. No.
Do you want kids?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
That'll be a
Super keen.
huge shift
Yeah.
for you.
Yeah.
I remember the day I became a dad, like your outlook on life and business changes so much for the better. I think because you're talking about changing as a person, you become a different person, and it's not just yourself anymore. Like there's other people. I think then that translates into business ownership and having a team.
Yes.
It's so powerful when you change that way.
Well, it seems like from what I've observed is everyone says a similar thing, and I've observed it's nearly like that. You got a greater purpose now beyond yourself. So that's what excites me. And to be honest, a lot of my GPS mapping in terms of goal is setting myself up for my future family. Like I know it's there, but I want to be in a position where that I can be a good parent. That's a really big goal of mine. And I know the business needs to be doing X and my properties need to be doing, so that's kind of my little GPS. It's not going to go here, there, everywhere, but that excites me. Yeah. To be like a father to someone. And and again, the blueprint will probably completely change.
It will.
Yeah. Yeah.
For the business now, it seems like outside looking in, you've cracked it, you've nailed it. Or is there any point along the way that people didn't see where you go, shit, this might be the end of Srama Group. This could be the wrong thing at the wrong time?
Yeah, for sure. I definitely haven't cracked it. And that's the thing with business. I feel there's no such thing as cracked it or there's always, because again, every entrepreneur, there's always more, there's always better. There's always something to improve and do better. Am I happy for where we are? 100%. Like I'm very grateful for what we've built as well. But when you talk on like the hard moments, I'd say the hardest, has there been hard moments? More, like so many. And that's what people don't realize is maybe they see the business and what it's doing, but there's so many hard moments where you question why you're even doing this. The hardest ones I've always found for myself have been the ability to build a business that isn't reliant on me. And it's something that every entrepreneur, I think, struggles with. It's definitely in the growth phase for sure, because your time, energy is capped at the end of the day. Like if you wanted to impact more people, you're going to have to figure out a way to kind of build team and support. So I remember it might have been year 2 into the business journey, and it was great, like, doing its things, high profit margins, because it's really just me and support team. But I was just so burnt out, and I wasn't enjoying it. And that was that exercise of like, man, I can't keep doing everything. So then I slowly outsourced different things. Again, super scary because it's investment now into the business. And then long and behold, you start going this way then. It's just like, oh, wow, this is cool. And then, so the pain ceilings are always to do, I find, with getting the business in a position where it's a more streamlined and it isn't reliant on one person, like key person risk. That's kind of always my toughest challenge.
What would you say the 3 main things are in that? If you're an entrepreneur now listening to this at the start of your journey and you go, that is my end goal. I want a business and a structure I can walk away from.
Yeah, I love it. I would say my advice to anyone starting the business journey, number 1 is getting dialed in on your systems and processes straight away. So I didn't get dialed in on those probably for like a good 1 to 2 years. Still working on it to this day. There's never perfect, but I would at least have a nice, clean system and process. So from wherever you're generating potential leads and your marketing funnel all the way down to fulfillment, just having a nice, clean process of how that happens. And why that's important is if you document all of that and you record and you have systems and processes how that happens, when you start to get that pain feeling of like, I'm getting overwhelmed now because we're pumping, you can then train someone a section of that process quite easily. So that's definitely number 1. Number 2 for a startup would be focus on creating awareness around what you do. Just market, like you've got to market yourself. If no one knows who you are, no one's going to, you could have the best service, best product ever. So, but if no one knows about it, there's no money coming in the door. And then the third one is, I think, the ability to influence. And what I say is that from a sales perspective, that's from a leadership perspective, just being able to communicate well, I think is huge. Because again, if you've now got an awesome streamlined business, you've got people keen on what you do. So they're interested and curious, what do you do? But you don't know how to give them the influential communication tools to make them excited around using your product or using your service, then you have no money either. And same as how can you get people into your business if you can't communicate an exciting message to them?
Bang on. Personal branding, has that been a focus for you whilst building the Srama Group, also building Matt Srama's personal brand and probably leveraging off the footy days for sure, but now it's actually, okay, I was good at footy, but I'm also good at business and buying a property and in real estate as well. Have you had a strategy to build your personal brand, or has that just come along with the general growth of the business?
Yeah, it's a funny one. It was just organic. So how it happened was I identified the awareness piece. I was just like, people need to know what a buyer's agent and what I do. So I just started getting consistent with content and stuff like that. And then as the time went on, I was feeding the business a lot just through personal brand, obviously. But as time went on, I realized it gets, when you have some sort of personal brand, I've identified it can get you in more doors. And if you get in more doors, it creates opportunities and creates different relationships that you might not have had. So there was probably a point in time where I was like intentional about it. Probably 3 years in, I was like, actually, this whole personal brand thing, I'm going to try and take it a bit more serious now. So that's where we kind of divided my brand with the company's brand whilst I was going through that stage, because I really definitely still working on it, but I really want to promote the team rather than I'm not the business. It's the team who's the business, because I truly believe if you build the business, build the people will build the business.
Yeah, I love the personal brand side of things. Like I think we mentioned on a previous episode, Elon Musk, way more followers than Tesla. Richard Branson, way more followers than Virgin. It's so important. It's something we've been working on. And even on point number 3, where you said getting people to buy into the vision and communicating that's kind of the journey we've been on with Harwell. And ironically, our recruitment process for our own business initially wasn't very good. We didn't vet people enough. We probably didn't sell the journey correctly, and we made a few hires that didn't work out as a result of that. But now we've reflected on that, and we feel like we've got a team here, which is 8, soon to potentially be 9, who they are all in. And that's what's awesome. That's what's built the scalability for us, where now we are stepping away to do things like this.
Yes.
We are trying to build our own personal brand, which, as you said, opens up doors which create more business. But they were never a door that was going to be opened through just the business. So it's quite nice hearing you say those 3 points from where you're sat, because I feel like even down to systems and procedures, we walked into a sales training immersion like a month in, and they were like, what's your process? And we didn't have one. So even then, like early on, we just had to build something that's scalable, because otherwise it's all in our head and it's pointless.
Yeah. And it's probably the biggest hack I can give to anyone wanting to scale from startup to scale up. And this doesn't have to be, a huge business. I just mean just from like, maybe you're just self-employed and you want to get to 3 people, 4, maybe 10 to 12, or maybe 20. The biggest tip I can give there, and why systems and processes are important, is because when you start engaging in finding talented people into your organization, there's a thing called training, and you're going to have to train these people. And the biggest roadblock I find with people who don't have good systems and processes is they blame the person that's come into the business for their lack of performance. But I always say, did you give them a platform to learn off that was good enough? Because how can you suspect someone to just fall into your business? You're busy enough, and just tell them, do this, this, and this, and just expect them to just crush it. I just think with scalability, I always use this term ROTI, return on time invested.
Nice.
So the more myself and my team can give this person everything they need to succeed in the next 30 days, I'll win that time back, I know, in the next potentially 2, 3, 10 years. Just want to make sure they've got the support they need to feel like, hey, I'm learning, I'm getting it, we're there if they need them, because don't see it as time wasted, that's for sure. People see training as like, oh, that's a waste of time.
Yeah, I think I personally definitely did on the first hires. One, because we're hire experienced people for a reason.
True.
But an experienced person in one business operates completely different to the next. And we're very particular about how we do what we do and the way it's done. So we didn't set these ones in mind up for success, because it was like, oh, great, you've done the job before, just go and do it. And then when it wasn't done our way, it was, oh, like, why you didn't like that? But there was never a playbook. There was never any measurables, which is the other important one. It was kind of, the only thing we really measured was money on the board at the end of the month, which yes, obviously there's money on the board. You must have had a half decent month, but you can kind of get lucky sometimes. And on the flip side, you can do a lot of good work and there's nothing to show for it for that month, because it's all long-term pipeline building. So what we've got a lot better at, That's a fine.
Hang on. We've got a live caller just called in with a question.
Yeah.
1 second.
So what we've got a lot better at is actually putting measurables in place. So on activity, and then we can track, okay, there's parts of the pipeline, the process, all your activities coming at the front end, which means we can't get the fulfillment through to the next stage.
Yeah.
So that's, you're calling a lot of clients, but they don't want to meet you. Okay, that's where the issue is.
Yeah.
You're having a lot of meetings, but you can't get the job on. Okay, that's where the bottleneck is. We need to train on the client meeting. You've got the jobs on, but we can't fill them. Okay, so you're not taking a good job brief, or we're not doing the right candidate attraction. We found the candidates, they're not getting the job itself. The quality of candidate's not right. So identifying, as you said, every step along the process then gives you the visibility to know what you need to train on, rather than potentially train everything or train nothing as well.
Yeah, I love that. That's really good. Yeah. And one thing I've just realized, if this adds any value to any business owners out there, is getting external people to train has been huge too. So if you find a bottleneck in there, try and find someone that's not you to give some advice in there. I just find sometimes we can do the ad hoc ones here and there and do some structured training, but as soon as you get someone external, it just provides them with the feeling of like, these guys and girls who are leading the business, they're invested in us learning. And again, who wants to hear your voice all the time as well? So that's something that's really helped. Every Tuesday we do like a training. I'll run them most time, but then we've got speakers coming in every Tuesday, and that's the feedback's been unreal, which I didn't expect, but then I've understood that thing. Yeah, it's been really good.
That's gold. At personal branding, trying to go back, we're trying to build ours out at the moment, as Harvey said. We've just paid for the blue ticks on Instagram.
Yeah, I love it.
So I think we're famous now. I think it's worked. But what are, I guess, 3 things you've done which have worked and that we can try and implement as well?
Yeah. And again, I'm still trying to work it all out as well, right? Like I think a lot of mine has just come from just consistency and just staying with it. I think detaching, again, I'm big on detaching from the vanity metrics of things, because, you know, we could say things aren't performing or things aren't doing based on the metrics of what the algorithm says, literally, like the data numbers. But the biggest unlock I've realized is you don't know who is watching.
Bang on.
It is insane the amount of conversations that have come my way that I've never heard of, seen, or interact with anything I've ever put out. And they're like, man, I've been listening to you for 4 years. And they're so warm. They're so trusted in the way you are as a person. You know, and so that's number one, is vanity metrics are there, but I would just focus more on a metric of how often did you just stay consistent. I just had this thing of 1 a day. Like that was my thing for
and
a
again,
while.
go back to the guilt, right? If I don't do it, I'll let myself down.
Yeah. And again, it's just sticking with it. That's number one. So focus on consistency metrics versus vanity metrics would be number one. Number 2 would be understanding that there will be a bottleneck in terms of your time to post all the stuff and caption it, because it's all well and good. You're getting consistent now. You're getting good lead flow in, but then the business is starting to pump and I'm getting busier. What's the first thing that goes away when people get busy? It's the marketing.
Consistency of content.
Consistency of content. So what I've identified is stage 2 is developing, again, like a system and process around the content. Again, can we utilize low dollar productive tasks and offset it to someone else? Posting, you don't have to do, it's a common thing. People think you have to press post, you have to come up with a caption. Like, no, that's my message. Like, if you train someone to come up with it themselves, there's things like ChatGPT, like,
Chad.
Just whatever. Like, try and let go of it and watch what happens. You'll be able to scale your content consistency if you just let go of it all. So finding a system and process on how you post it and where to and all those sorts of things is number 2. And there's some really cost-effective way. You don't have to hire a whole agency. There's people offshore that do things, you know, very cheap. You can do all that. You know, maybe someone in your office right now who's got some spare time up their sleeve. One of our client success ladies, she's amazing. She has a little bit of extra time. She's doing our Instagram, just engaging, commenting, and just filming different things. That's number 2, creating a process. And then number 3, once you've got that all going, you're consistent, you've got a process now, you're building it. I think the ability to show who you are away from the business, just sprinkling it in there, I think is important. It's something I've been trying to do. So I'm looking at, for you guys, like for example, there's this recruitment agency and this one, and they're both pumping. They both look like they're credible. They're both amazing, polished content. But I realize I relate to, Harvey because, he's with his daughter on weekends or whatever. Or I noticed you played a bit of golf or whatever. You know what I mean? It's just like, yeah, I like this dude. I like that. So just little sprinkles. I think there is an element of too much, sharing too much too. But I think little sprinkles, and you can be strategic by using them on your stories, maybe just kind of little highlights on what you do outside of business too. I think that just when you talk on personal brand, that's a little bit of who you are personally.
It's gold.
Point number one of getting sucked up into the vanity metrics. It's so powerful. There's a book I've just read. You'd absolutely love it. It's called Key Person of Influence by Daniel Priestley.
Yeah.
And he's super impressive entrepreneur, scaled multiple 9-figure businesses. And he talks about the difference between an influencer and a key person of influence. So there are influencers out there who have millions of followers, but they're just followers. They look, they watch, they like it, they click like, but they get fuck all from it. He's like, whereas a key person of influence might only have 10,000 followers, but they're talking to their niche every single day consistently over a period of time, and they become a key person of influence in real estate, in recruitment. And they might only have 10,000 followers, but 1,000 of those 10,000 are all paying clients.
Deep, yeah.
Who do you think's earning more money? So it's the power of publishing. He talks about publishing books, blogs, content directly to your client persona every single time.
I love
how much more powerful that is to just content for the sake of content. And even what you said about your personal stuff, we probably got sucked into sharing too much of that at some point. And now we've dialed it back, and I'm focusing in on talking directly to CFOs or directly to founders of fast growing e-commerce businesses, and the engagement I'm getting and the inbound leads or the comments, it's another level rather than fuck, how good's living in the Gold Coast. Like, it's just a different ballgame, isn't it? You still have to do that stuff every now and then to show you're a human.
Yeah.
But there's just that, it's the balance.
I love it. Yeah, it relates to something I heard too, of like, you can be popular or you can be rich. And there's a lot of popular people online who don't have much money to their name because they haven't understood or worked out the game of monetization of their audience. And there's people out there as well who are extremely acumen heavy. They are the best in their field, but no one knows about them. So it's kind of creating the credible person who knows their stuff and delivering that to an audience of people who want to listen to that. I think that's where you can kind of create a genuine streamline of income consistently. And then in terms of personal brand, you can then scale it into all sorts of different, maybe a book just instantly, it's just kind of, I think building a personal brand is like, you're building the arch of the umbrella, the main bit, and then wherever you can probably leverage that into certain things at some point.
I know public speaking's one that Harvey, to be fair to him, put the line out there earlier than I did. I'm like, oh shit, I don't know. Probably that little working class kid back in my head, didn't want to get the cleaner going, why would people want to hear you speak? But I'm kind of on board now, and we might have an event we're doing at the end of the year, which would be amazing. We'd be hosting. So before then, I said on the phone to Harves earlier, mate, that's the first league game of the season, that event. We need to get a few preseason games in.
Love it.
Like, I don't want to be steaming into that first time, scared. Do you do much public speaking, mate? If you do, what's that impact been? And if not, why not?
Mate, when people ask what's one of the most important skills in business that I reckon is key, it's the art of communication. Probably just after I retired from sport, I did this. I don't know. I was always intrigued with it. I used to hate public speaking, hated it. And I just identified all the best leaders and entrepreneurs. Like when they talk, they're just like super engaging and compelling. And when I started looking into it, it's actually a skill. It's actually an art to it, and you can train it. You may be an introvert at heart, which I am, but you can train to talk. And I did this thing called Toastmasters. I don't know if you've heard of Toastmasters.
I've heard of that. Is it like improv?
Yeah. So, man, if you want to get out of your comfort zone, do that. If you want some reps, actually, that's a great place to start. what it is you rock up to this room, people you've never met before, and it's trained public speaking, and they do activities. So for example, the first one's the common one that everyone does. You stand up, say your name, all that sort of jazz. And then there'll be different improv things throughout the thing. So it's maybe the three of us, we get 1 minute each, and they're going to hold an item up, and we got to talk about that item in front of everyone, and we get critiqued at the end.
Wow.
So it's like, Harvey, you're up, stand up in front of everyone. All right, bang. And it's a Barbie doll. And then you just got to deliver it. And seeing some of the people in there who have done Toastmaster for years, I was just like, wow. Like they could, whatever they say, I am buying it. I am listening. I want to work for you. So then that's where I'm like, wow, I really want to get good at this. And to actionably give some tips to any listeners right now, the key things that I notice that people do when they start with speaking, number one is filler words. If you can cut filler words out, instantly sound more credible. So why fill things with it's a classic footy commentator, right? I was the worst at it. So, but I was never mindful of it. I had no idea until I started going there, and they said, "Man, you use a lot of filler words." So cutting out filler words, number one. Number two then is why say 100 words when 10 will do? So if you can clarify a message succinctly and just deliver it, that's all people need. People won't think you're smarter by keep talking and keep giving them more and more information. We got short attention spans now. Just hit them with the true facts, bang. And then the cherry on top, and this is something I've been working on hard the last 2 years, and it's, I think, changed my life, is playing around with your tonality.
Yeah, Jeremy Miner loves that.
Oh, he's the
class,
no, isn't he the best?
Yeah.
So some people, they got all the right things to say, but they always finish on a high tone. So it kind of comes across as they're not as credible, so
asking for validation almost.
Yeah. Versus the people just slow down the tone, and they always finish on impactful notes on the low and just pausing. And it's just like, man, I don't know why, but that person, I trust that person more than that person. So playing around with your tones. And Jeremy, if you haven't heard Jeremy Miner, listen. And he's got these things around the 6 different tones, like curious, concern tone, and game changing.
Ads did a great role play with Jeremy.
Stop it.
Got done. Training.
Stop it.
Yeah, you give him the mic, he's like, get up, and he fried you.
He would have fried you
in front of 1,000 people.
Stitch up, mate.
That would have been so good to see. Mate, he would stitch anyone up. He's so good at it.
Yeah, he's so good.
He's an animal. I think one thing, I actually commented on one of your Instagram posts, to be fair, Matt, it was about the power of the pause.
Oh, yeah.
And something I struggle with. I talk quite fast, and I think it's just where I grew up in England. It's the way I kind of speak. So I do try and slow down, but I think even when I slow down, I speak normally. You know what I mean? So I need to go even further. But then that feels so alien.
Yes.
Slowing down.
Yeah.
I've definitely got better. The accent was a bit of a difficult one when I first came over. Now it's a bit half Aussie, half English. But yeah, for me, it's the speed, and when particularly when you're presenting, terms and conditions, or you're presenting dollars and figures, negotiating, the person who is relaxed, composed, calm, finishes on the lower note, they're the people that naturally you want to buy from. You trust they've got authority, right?
You got authority, Jeremy always says it, like status. You're always trying to raise status or lower, like people are lowering status, but you're really trying to raise status from the get-go. So that's something that's really changed my life in communication, is what status are you bringing to the conversation, the table, those sorts of things. Yeah,
mate, I love it. I feel like we've covered a lot, but I want to ask you one more thing before we finish up, and that's what's next for the Srama Group?
Yeah, I think what's next is more of a 10x vision, kind of like for myself. It's kind of like, well, what does that look like? Well, what would, if I was to put that into the Google Maps, like who would I need to become and what would need to happen? So rather than looking at, we've been on a nice steady growth, it's what could 10x look like? Like what would happen? So that's kind of what's next is I'm going to explore that. And what that's led me in the past month is like, it's crazy what just expanding your thought process can be. Again, we could easily, I feel we could double next year, but why not 10? Like what would that look like? So you just can't start thinking completely differently. And I just got inspired from a lot of young entrepreneurs that I know. It's what I realized, we're all the same people. If anything, we've all got I've nearly got an upper hand because I know I've got the consistency and discipline. They're just like thinking way bigger and they're just solving things and solving different puzzles. So not that I'm going to get swept up in like needing that, but it's like I'm going to explore that. I'm going to explore what processes would need to change. What would the brand have to do if it was to scale beyond maybe one city? You know, how would that look? You know, there's a whole new realm of processes, licensing. You know, I'll become a way better entrepreneur if I explore that. And if it happens to be we end up here, there, whatever, I just know thinking 10x is going to improve me and the business.
It's one of the most exciting things about entrepreneurship, isn't it? And I can see a light up as you talk about it. And I know for me, since we stepped away from the pro game, and even now I've since retired from this, and Ads has from the semi-pro game, it replaces that adrenaline that you miss from a match day. Yeah. But when we're looking at scaling the business, and the extra 3 heads we might be hiring and the money, and it's like, but then this is what it could get you. And this is then what the brand would be like. That gets me more excited now than what pro football used to. And that question I asked you, which path would you have picked? I think I'd pick this path. Yeah, I love more what I do today than if I was a League Two footballer in England on maybe £1,000 a week, 1 year contract to 1 year contract, moving your family around. This is way more fun.
Yeah, exactly right. And I think that is the pursuit of the entrepreneur at heart, and having that sport background is, it's like the adrenaline thing, and it's just like that having a crack feeling. Mm-hmm. I was chatting to someone today. That's what I'm always managing is like I'm not going to detach on whether certain goal gets hit or whatnot. I love what I do. Like, I've got a great lifestyle. I don't really need to do that, but I don't want to go to bed not thinking, man,
playing it safe.
Yeah, exactly. Playing it safe or just having a crack. Yeah. So it's just like, you have those games, those games that you didn't take the tough carry. And you're like, I could have, but I just played a good game. I'm getting paid well, I got my contract, but like those games where you're like, I'm going to really give it a crack today. And I'm probably going to risk, a few balls or passes. Like I'm going to go for that through ball that could be a 1 in 8 chance of making. But why not? Like, just have a crack.
Yeah, I think I need that personally. I think when I get too complacent, when I get too comfortable, my levels drop because I'm like, I can do this in my sleep. And I was definitely the player who would try the through ball every time. I'm thinking pass percentage 10%, but that one pass got a goal.
Pally, keep the ball, mate.
And it's great to do it with Harv. Have you got someone like I've got a Harvey? Have you got a business partner? Have you got a kind of a mentor, I guess, who's on the same level where you can share really raw feelings about where you're at?
Yeah, mentors are very important, I feel. I'm the sole director, so it can get lonely for sure. Our operations manager, he used to be my roommate, so
nice.
He knows me. He was there when I started the business during COVID. So, people like that is great to offload some things for sure. And then having 10x vision is like, I'm always mindful that we're a young company. So we haven't just recruited huge A players who are telling me and expanding my mind. So I have to try and find them in mentors at the moment. So there are some key mentors. I'm big on like coaches, mentors, that sort of stuff. And sometimes mentors don't even have to be people you've met. I think having digital mentors is amazing. Like Dan Martell's changed my life. I've never met, I did meet him, but I don't do coaching with him or anything. I've read his book, went to his seminars and stuff and absorb his content. See him as a mentor for sure. Hamosi changed a lot of perspectives for me with business, same as his wife. So I consider them as digital mentors for sure.
I love that. That's gold. I think we could sit here for hours, mate, to be honest, talking about footy days and sport. But, mate, I've taken so much away from that. The key one was probably that red and green task list. I think I'm getting an house manager.
Yeah. Oh, man, it's game changing. And again, when you do the math and whatnot, it sounds like this extravagant role. Like you can pick up some for like $30-40 an hour, and they don't have, it's not full time either. Like you don't have to have someone full time. So it's just perspective shifts. Like sometimes it's just Dan Martell, when I was reading his stuff, just gave perspective shifts. I'm like, oh wow, you can do that. There you go.
Yeah, mate, you're a legend. Thanks for coming
Yeah.
on. We've got a golf sim to get to downstairs. But where can people find you, mate, online if they want to come and use your services?
Yeah, just Matt_Srama is my personal, and then the company's the Srama Group. So always happy to add value, answer any questions, whatever.
Yeah,
You're
we'll
a
get all
legend,
that in
mate.
the show notes.
Cool. Awesome. Thanks, fellas.
Good work, lads.